Hello, everyone. Apologies if I sound a little raspy today. Um, Picked up something at the grocery store last week, and it's given me kind of a sore throat situation for a few days. But I wanted to start this year off talking about equipment. So we'll start off with the basic accessory that a lot of photographers have, and that's a flash. It could be on your camera. It could be the flash on your phone. A flash to help give that burst of light so that you have a more vibrant and more visible picture is horrible when it's attached to the camera and shooting directly forward. I've known this for years, even back when we had film cameras, that having that flash, in addition to being very hard on the eyes of whoever you're taking the picture of, also is very harsh against your features. Think about it. That light is hitting directly on. Take a flashlight, right? Aim it directly at something. You'll see those harsh shadows that you get. The harsh lines that they create on a face, for example. And that's why you'll see a lot of content creators who use a ring light, right? So the light is still aimed at the person, but it's more diffuse. Now, that's one thing you can use with a regular flash that we didn't have back when you had bulb flashes, was a diffuser that you can put between the light source and your subject so that the light isn't as sharp as what you see when you're looking at that flashlight. So if you were to take that flashlight and now put a piece of paper between the flashlight, right against that flashlight, you'll notice that it diffuses the light, right? It gets rid of those sharp lines. It gets rid of that just starkness that you get from flash. Now, that's just one way you can use a flash, but we haven't moved off the camera, right? This is still a flash on your camera. How you would do it with a phone is a little trickier. You could grab a piece of cotton, for example, and put it over the flash itself so that the flash has to go through the cotton. That would give you the same effect. However, when you're taking a picture with a camera, you can make adjustments for lighting. When you're doing it with a phone, you have to rely on that phone to do the right thing, to understand that the light's been cut back a little bit, and to then handle it so that the light is still diffuse, but still enough for the subject that you're taking. Now, let's step away from the camera itself. Now that we've taken the flash off the camera, there are a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. One thing is the flash has to be put in a place that's not going to be in the way, right? If you've got it on a small stand and you got it on a table, make sure it's not going to get knocked over. But it opens up a lot of possibilities of using a tripod for your flash. Again, you can use the bare flash, you can hit people from different angles, and for certain types of photography, that is awesome. You want that starkness, you want that tech noir feel to the image that you're making, for example. But you now have the ability to not only have a flash on your camera, we'll deal with just one. But you have a slaved flash, so the camera is going to go off and it's going to communicate to that flash that it needs to fire. But what if you had multiple flashes? There are systems that allow all those flashes to communicate and go off at the same time. They're great systems. You can set your flashes up in different sequences, but we're not going to go that far today. We're just going to talk about what we can do with a flash. So you've got the flash off to the side. You can put the diffuser on it, but now, because it's on a tripod and it's not on your camera, you can now start to play with umbrellas. If you haven't seen an umbrella, it looks just like the type that somebody uses over their head. The material is sheerer than that, obviously, to allow the light to go through and diffuse. Now, there's two different types of these. There's a shoot-through one, and there's a reflective one. Now, the shoot-through is what I just described. It's a gossamer material that allows the light to go through, but doesn't allow those light photons to hit directly. They've got to bounce around a little bit, so it gives that softer look. With the reflective ones, there's several options that you can have with those, but the basic is you're shooting with the umbrella like it's trying to keep the light, keep water off the light. You'll aim it so that the bottom part of your umbrella is pointed directly at your subject. For example, paying attention to the fact that you can have a bit of a shadow depending on how you've got it set up. And that's because the umbrella is just like any other umbrella. It's got that center shaft to it. So keep that in mind. Do a couple of test shots just to make sure that you've got everything set up correctly. But what you're going to do is you're going to aim the flash not at your subject, but at the inside of the umbrella. Now, what that's going to do, you're going to be further away from the inside of the umbrella, right? You're not going to be close to it. But when the light comes out of the flash, it's going to hit that umbrella, bounce around a little bit in that reflective surface before it comes back, and then hit the person with a diffuse light. But now you can play even more. If you've used a reflector, you know that the reflector can change the wavelength of the light, which changes the color of the light. You can use a golden reflector to give that kind of warmer golden color to it, or you could use a silver reflector, just keeping to these two simple examples, which will give it a more stark, really a black and white type of feel to it. Both of these are possible inside that umbrella. So you can have an umbrella in your set that you aim so that the umbrella is pointed away from your subject, so that your flash is going to hit the umbrella and the umbrella is going to light up the entire area around. Or you can have an umbrella where it's flipped the other way, where the handle is pointed toward your subject and the light is going to bounce in that umbrella and come back. Now, these come in various sizes, just like soft boxes do, which we'll talk about in a minute. And what these allow you to do, these allow you to have that more of an area effect light rather than being so specific. Also, because your flash is no longer attached to your camera, it's no longer fixed to the distance you are from your subject. You can change the angle, you can change the height, you can change the distance from your subject to the light source. So once you've removed that flash from your camera, you now have a world of more possibilities. In addition, if you've got one of those units that'll trigger from your camera, you could have a bunch of these set up. You could have one high, you could have one low, and they could blend their light together depending on what you're looking for in your final image. So let's go back to where we started, which was just a diffuse material. There are a couple of different types of diffusers, other than an umbrella, and they're usually more box shaped. Again, these allow you to shape the light. There's actually some that you can have barn doors around them to shape the light even further. Now, what a barn door is it's these protrusions that are adjustable as far as the angle. They're attached to your box that allow you to make the light go wider or cut it back. So if you want to do a portrait, for example, and what you really want to do is highlight the face, you can, and again, you can put a gel on your flash, just like we had a gold umbrella. You can put a gold gel on the flash. That'll change the color of the flash. It's just a small piece of plastic, basically. And that can go through the diffuser, so you can get a golden color from your diffuser. But maybe you don't want the person's clothing hit with that light. You just want their face. So having a barn door allows you to shape that light so that it's hitting the face directly. In addition to that, there's a grid work that can go inside of a diffuser that, again, shapes that light, because the grid work are basically, think of it as a bunch of little boxes all stacked together from one side to the other of the grid. An egg carton type, if you will. All square. The light's going to bounce off of those or be diffused by those. In addition to being diffused by the outside diffuser, it changes the shape of the light. So again, you've got a more diffuse light. You're still using a flash, but you've now gained the possibility of shaping the light more than you did from the flash. Having a diffuser on there so that you get a different shape to the light and a shape to the shadows that you're going to have on your subject. In all cases, you still have the ability to put a gel over your light to change the color of the light, which will change the mood and the ambiance of the picture that you're taking. But the real game changer is when you can take that flash away from the camera. When the light source is not slaved to your location when you're taking the photographs. Now, I know some photographers stick their camera in one spot, don't move it, may have it on a tripod, and just here's the subject is going to be in front of them, and they're going to take the picture. Again, to me, that's the cookie cutter method. That's the type of thing you see when you go into places like a mall photo center, right? Or even a photo booth. The camera's in a fixed position. It's going to take what's directly in front of it, and there's no life or creativity to the angles or any of the other 1,000 variables that you could change. But as soon as you can move that light source away from your camera, you now bring up a ton of other options. You can have the light high and shoot low at the person. You can have them look down at you with this golden light hitting the top of their head if you wanted to. Again, your light source can be anywhere. It can be behind them. So when the flash goes off, it's bouncing the light in such a way that you see this golden halo around their head while you're taking the picture. Still getting that sharp image of the person, but adding a little bit of extra color around them from behind. There's a lot of things you can do with a flash. But there are some things you can only do with a fixed light. So while we talked about flashes this week, we're going to talk about fixed lighting next week, like LEDs. But before we move on to that subject, I'm going to talk about this probably on all of these. When you're dealing with a tripod, especially when it's got something big attached to it, like an umbrella or a softbox, you have to have the appropriate tripod for it, but you want to make sure that you've got a tripod that you can weight down. You want to make sure you've got insurance just in case something happens or something goes wrong and something gets knocked over. But at the same time, you want to prevent that from happening as much as you can. And the way you can do that is by weighting it, by changing its center of gravity, making sure that center of gravity is dead center, by putting things over the legs so that it doesn't have all the legs are weighted so it doesn't have the ability to tip, because it's got that extra weight to hold it down. And you should do this for any time you use a tripod. And again, use the appropriate tripods. Don't use a photo tripod necessarily for a light source. You could probably get away with them on things like flashes, right? Flash isn't very big. It's not very heavy, but as soon as you start adding in a softbox, as soon as you start adding in an umbrella, you've now changed the balance of that operation that you've got going on, especially when you're thinking about an umbrella, right? The heavy part of the umbrella could be the upper part of the umbrella. I mean, they're pretty light and the shafts are usually heavier, but when you've got one that's going to be doing reflecting, you've got that heavier weight up at the top. You've got to make sure that you have the flexibility of moving that anywhere you want to. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by having a good tripod that's going to allow you to weight it down and prevent it from tipping over. Here, it's as simple as put the two legs in the back, put the umbrella up there, put the first leg in the front, and put a 5-pound weight over that front leg, or a 10-pound weight attached, not just resting on, but attached to that front leg, so that it's got that extra 5-10 pounds of weight in the front to offset the weight of the umbrella. Now, something as simple as that's not going to prevent it from being bumped into and knocked over, which means you have to go beyond just a counterbalancing of it. But having a counterbalance is a good start. And again, there's a lot of things you can do with flash, a lot of things you can do with gels, a lot of things you can do to change your angle and change up your photo shoot to make it more creative and make it more you. But that's what I got for you guys this week. Next week, we'll talk about fixed lighting.